Hello, everybody. Welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to be looking at is how to back up the router and the switch configuration to a TFTP server and also the iOS, which is actually stored in the flash. So watch this. Let me get myself a router. Here's a 1941 router. And let me get myself an actual switch. And I just actually need one computer, all right, and one server. Let me just get a better view of this. Let me just drag these right over here and make it more organized. All right, let me make the actual connections. So I'm going to connect the laptop to the switch, the server to the switch, and then the router to the switch. I'm going to use a gigabit port to gigabit 01. I'm going to go to the router. Let's say I want to call this R1 and this one over here is switch 1 to identify it. Then I'm going to go to the router, CLI, and let's say no. And let me just make some common commands. So let's say host name R1, enable secret is Cisco, service password encryption, no IP domain lookup, right? We need that. So if I type something wrong, it doesn't go out there and start translating the actual numbers themselves. And let's say I do a line console 0, password, let's say Cisco, login, and I do line VTY, let's say 04 this time, password Cisco. Then I do also log in, exit, and let's say I want to put a banner, message of the day, and I'm going to say welcome to my class. Enter. Let me end it with whatever I started with, right? Interface, let's say gigabit 00, IP address 192.168.100.254, space the default mask, and I'm going to do no shut, right? Just like that. So as you see, I just have some common commands that I ran on the router itself. So let me exit out over here. Most likely I want to save to my actual startup config, right? So let me see, do WR and Control Z. And let me go back to my switch and do some configuration on the switch itself. Common configuration. So config T, host name switch 1, enable secret is Cisco, all right? Line console 0, password is what? Cisco, login, activate the password, line VTY04, password Cisco, and activate the password. And then I want to do exit and do service password encryption, right? So I want to make sure that I encrypt the passwords and no IP domain dash, let's say, look, Control Z and WR, save my actual configuration. I just saved it to where? To the NVRAM. Same thing what I did to the router. So I'm going to minimize this. Go to this machine, give it an IP address, which is 192.168.100.100. Let's say the default gateway is 100.254, and DNS, I'm using Google's DNS. All right. So this is fine. And I'll say I give this one as 100.1. 192.168.100.1, and default gateway is 100.254, and DNS is all what? Eights, as you see. See that? Just like that. So now I want to back up this configuration and this configuration to the TFTP server. I mean, normally, if I open the router and I go physically, look at this. I have USB ports, so I can put a flash drive over here and back up my configuration to a USB flash drive, by the way. But in this case, I have to show you through TFTP. So if I go to services, I do see TFTP, and it's actually what? On. I do have lots of files over here. I want to remove everything. All right. So I want to make sure my TFTP server has nothing at all, as you see. I'm going to close this out. My TFTP server is 100.100, right? This is 100.254. This one is 100.253. And the laptop is 100.1, as you see. So I want to go ahead to my router, CLI. I want to back up Y in case I lost the configuration, could recover. I can actually restore. So what do I do? From privilege mode, let me ask for help. Do we have a copy command? Yes, we do. All right. So copy. Remember, I did a save. So my run and my start is the same. So if I do show run, I have my configuration. And if I do show start, I have my configuration. They're the same. So if I say copy, copy from where to where? It can be from the source, can be run or start. Let's say copy from the run space question mark. And I need to put here what? TFTP. Normally, if I have a flash drive, I could say USB, all right? And I'm going to press enter. What is the address or the name of the remote host, which means what is the TFTP server? That's 100.100. What is the file name? R1-CONFG. Press enter. And now it's going to write to the TFTP server. There you go. I just backed up my router's configuration to the TFTP server. And if I go to my switch, same thing, right? And I do copy, run, space, TFTP. What is the IP address? 100.100, right? And it's SW1-CONFG and enter. So I just backed up also my switch configuration to where? To the actual TFTP server. Why is it taking a while? Let's see. It's not able to talk to it. I did something on purpose. Let me see if you can figure that out. It's like, how can I talk from the switch to the TFTP server? Why did the router talk to the TFTP server? It's going to time out. Check this out. I went to the router and I do have an IP address. So when I do show IP interface brief, I could talk to my TFTP server. I could ping 192.168.100.100. See that? I could reach it, but my switch doesn't have an IP address. So I have to put it on the VLAN. All right. Interface VLAN 1, no shut, and then IP address 192.168.100.253. Space 255.255.255.0. Right? Now, if I try to ping my TFTP server, 100.100, right? I should be able to. First packet, maybe it's going to be lost and it's going to reach. This is normal. So now I could WR, save my configuration, and do the copy run TFTP. Now I could say 100.100. See that? Enter. Immediately, it works. So if I go to my TFTP server, I go to services, TFTP, I see both files right over here. Okay, how about the iOS? Where's the iOS? Remember, we have another storage, which is the flash. So if I type in show flash, I can see my iOS, which is right over here. See that? So I want to back up my iOS also to the TFTP server in real time. You would do it to a USB drive. So I'm going to say copy. What am I trying to copy? The flash question mark, right? To where? To the TFTP server itself. So I'm going to say TFTP and press enter, right? What is the source file name? It's this one right over here because I did not specify it. It's a bin, which is binary. That's iOS. So let me just do this again. Copy, flash TFTP, source file name. Let me paste this in. It looks like it doesn't want to paste it in. All right. Let me do show flash again. Highlight this and copy and do copy run space TFTP, right? Enter. Source file name. I'm going to paste. There you go. Enter. Destination file name is what? So address or name is, am I doing something right or wrong here? Yes, you're correct. This is the IP address of the actual server. So if I say enter, it's not going to work. All right. So watch this. Copy, run, TFTP 100.100. It's good to have mistakes. And then the file name is what? Copy from the run to the TFTP. Why is this coming up? Oh, there you go. I did run instead of flash. Nice. All right. Copy, flash, space, TFTP, and enter. Source file name. Let me paste this in. Enter. Now I put 100 dot 100, and this is a destination file name. Then it should be fine. See that? So you could be making these mistakes. Then I want to go ahead to my TFTP server, right? I just have to refresh it and it's right over here. Then I'm going to go to my switch and do the same thing. So if I do show space flash, and I could see my actual iOS, which is the dot bin. So again, copy. Let me just copy this first of all. Do a copy of that. So I'm going to say copy the flash to where? To TFTP. All right. Source file name. I'm going to paste this in. Enter. What is the IP? 100.100. Enter, then enter. And it's done. All right. So I have a backup of my iOS and my startup config of the router and the switch into where? Into the TFTP server. See that? This is perfect. Okay. So what happens over here? Let me go ahead and erase my configuration. So this is a backup configuration. That's how you can back up your router's configuration, your switch configuration, your iOS. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to do is write erase, then enter. I could type reload, or remember, I could just turn off. Look at this and turn on. All right. It's not powered on. So let me zoom in so you guys can see better and turn on. Now I'm back in business. Same thing. I go to the switch. I'm going to do right erase, right? Right erase, enter, and I could do a reload. Physically, I could do an actual reset. If I zoom in, there's a reset button over here that you could actually click on. But normally it doesn't work in the Cisco Packet Tracer. I want to do an actual reload and enter. And now I should lose all the configuration. Well, in our next lecture, we're going to see how can I restore my actual configuration. All right, so we'll see you guys in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Well, in this lecture, what we're going to see is how can I restore and recover my actual configuration from the TFTP server. Well, watch this. I need this device to talk to the TFTP server. I need this device to talk to the TFTP server. So I need to put IPs on these two devices. That's the only thing I need. Can I ping it right now? Look at this. There is no configuration at all. If I try to ping 100.100, watch this. It's going to say, I have no clue what's 100.100 because I don't have an IP on my actual device. Let's give it a moment. So then I'm just going to go to config T interface gigabit 0/0 and do a no shut and give it an IP address, which is 100.254. Paste the default mask just like this. All right. So now I just have what over here? Router. If I do show run, look at this. See that? Nothing is there unless it's just the IP address that shows start. There's nothing. Now I could do copy. What is the source? Oh, the source is TFTP. And what is the destination? Is run. What is the address of the remote host? 100.100. What is the file name? Let's take a look. All right, watch this. So if I go to services, TFTP is called R1-CONFG. 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 And enter. Destination file name to run and enter. It should work now. This should recover. There we go. I got my configuration. Show run. Look, enable secret, host name, no IP domain lookup. I see console and V2I. Then I should do WR so it saves to the startup config. Same thing. I would go to my switch. I have to give the VLAN an IP address. Interface VLAN space one, no shut, and IP address is 100.254. Space the default mask. And there you go. And let me save the configuration. Then I say copy from TFTP to my running config. What is the IP address of the TFTP server? 100.100. What is the source file name? Well, let me go ahead and take a look and see that. So if I go to my server, it's SW1-CONFG. So it's SW1, see that? SW1 dash what? CONFG and enter. Now it should work. Watch this. All right, there you go. So if I do show run, I see all my information. See that? Everything is back in business. And then I do WR. So it's very easy to back up and restore your router's configuration. What I want to show you in our next lecture is how can I break into the router if I forgot the password. How can I break into the switch? But the problem is the Cisco Packet Tracer does not support all the commands to break into the switch. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Very welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to see how can I break into the router. Let's say you forgot the password. Let's say you took over someone else's network and you don't have the credentials. How can you break in without losing configuration, right? How about you purchased a used router? How can you break in with losing configuration? So we want to see how that works. First of all, for me to do this, I have to be connected through the console, right? I cannot be remoting in like Telnet or SSH. So I'm going to go to the router and take a look at a few things. Let me just log on over here and show you. So here I could actually still log on to the system itself. I need to do this command, show version. And the reason why I'm actually doing this is I'm looking at the registry. There's two types of registries. There's a 0x, which is based on hexadecimal, 2102, and there's 2142. So it's either a 2102 or a 2142. Now, what does a 2102 mean? Watch this. I'm going to reload, enter. 2102, which means it's going to go through the normal boot process, the post. It's going to do a power on self test. It's going to go through the bootstrap, which means it's going to do a hardware test. If the hardware works, it's going to contact the flash and look for an iOS. There is an iOS, it's going to load it. The final step is going to load the configuration file, which is stored on the startup config. And now I'm actually prompted for what? For passwords. See this? That's normal. All right. What I want to do is I want to change the registry to 2142. What does 2142 mean? Which means when I boot the system, it's going to do a power on self test, it's going to check the bootstrap to make sure all the hardware is actually working. It's going to look for an iOS in the flash, it's going to load it, but then it's going to skip the NVRAM. It will never load your configuration file. That's the 2142. So watch this. Let's say I can't log in. So I'm going to go physical. I'm going to turn off the router. Look at this. And I'm going to turn on. When I turn on, I have to do the control C to break in. Control and the letter C. So I'm going to turn on, go to the CLI, control C. See, I just actually interrupted the boot process. ROM monitor mode. It's like safe mode for Windows. Let me type in help over here. This is not a command line. So I'm going to change the registry, conf reg 0x2142. If I change the registry to 2142, it's going to bypass the NVRAM. And that's what I want without losing the configuration. Enter. Then I use the actual what? The reset option. So I'm going to reset the router. Press enter. Watch this right now. So it's very simple to break into a router. Let's give it a moment. Okay, see, it's giving me setup mode. It's like, okay, hello, I did not load the configuration file from the NVRAM. So I'm going to say no, enter, en. Look at this. I lost everything. Did I lose everything? It looks like, but watch this. Show start. Startup config. I still have all the configuration in the startup config. You see this? But it doesn't load the startup config. If I do show version, I can see that my registry right now is 2142, which means every time I restart, it's going to bypass the NVRAM. It's going to look like, hello, I have no configuration. The first thing that I need to do is, let's say I want to get my configuration back, right? I don't want to lose anything. This is the only time you do copy start point, which means you want to copy from the NVRAM to the RAM. Let's say you don't care about the configuration, you will skip this step. All right, so I'm going to press enter. I'm getting my configuration back. There you go. I'm actually in. So watch this. Now I reset the passwords, enable, secret. I'm going to do Cisco uppercase, and let's say line VTY 0 space 4, and the password is Cisco uppercase. And then line, all right, very easy. Console 0, password Cisco uppercase, just like that. The last thing that I have to do is I have to change the registry back to 2102. And if I ask for help, is there a config dash register? Yes, there is. Okay, so I'm going to do config dash register 0x2102, just like that. Do WR, then do a reload. And now I'm back in business. So very simple to break into an actual router. So if I don't care about the configuration, you should skip copy start one. If you care, you do what I just actually did. Now I log in, I put lowercase Cisco, doesn't work. It's uppercase Cisco. You see this? And then I do the same thing, uppercase Cisco. I'm in. That's how you can recover if you forgot the password or if you don't know what the password is for an actual router. The problem is when you break in, all the interfaces go down. Watch this. Show IP interface brief. Everything is down. So I still have to go to my interfaces, interface gigabit 00, and I do no shut. Now the interface is up. Then I save my configuration. I do show IP interface brief. Everything is actually up. So I'm back in business. I reload. So remember, the only thing that actually happens when you break in, the interfaces go down automatically. So you have to go to each interface and do a no shut on them on the router. Same thing on the switch, but not to the interface, to the actual VLAN itself on the switch. So let me go ahead and log on, right? And here is the password. Looks like it didn't take it. Cisco. There we go. That's how you break into a router. How do you break in to an actual switch? Well, check this out. I go to the switch. I cannot log into the switch. So what I'm going to do is I need to restart the actual switch itself. I cannot remove the plug itself. If I zoom in, you will notice there's a reset button right over here. So I'm going to go to the CLI. I'm going to assume that I'm actually what? Removing the actual what? The cable, the power cable. So I'm going to reload. I'm going to go to config, to physical, and press, okay, mode button is pressed, right? For monitor access. I go to the CLI. See that? I just interrupted the boot process. So you unplug the power, you plug the power in, and when you plug in, you make sure you hold the reset button on the switch. It will interrupt the boot process. Let me type help over here, right? And look what I got over here. I got lots of commands over here, as you see. So the first thing I need to do is initialize my flash underscore init, initializing the flash. You see, the next thing I want to look and see what's in the flash. Dir flash, enter. Okay, it looks like I have to do directory flash colon and enter. And I could see the file that I'm looking for is called config.txt. That's my startup config. So that's what it loads when I turn on the switch. Can I do the following? Can I use the rename command? There is a rename command. See that? So I'm going to type in rename just like this, flash colon, and I do config dot text space colon flash colon, and then I put config dot anything. Let's say config dot old, right? And press enter. So I'm renaming the configuration file to old so it doesn't, so in other words, I don't have a config dot text. If I don't have a config dot text, when I start my switch, it's not going to load the configuration file. It's going to put me in setup mode. That's what it's going to do. Then I'm going to be doing the boot option. Now it's putting up. Watch this. See, the new Cisco packet tracer is allowing us to do this until what step? Watch this. You'll be surprised now. So I'm actually in. Look at this. I'm in. Okay, Control Shift 6 EN. I'm actually in. If I do show start, right? Show space start, nothing is configured. Show space run, I have nothing over here. So what I need to do is, can I use the rename command? Rename. This is what I need. All right. See, that's why what I'm talking about is you cannot continue the break process. So your final step is this. Let me just type it in. It's rename. I have to rename flash colon the config dot old to what? To flash colon config dot text, and I press enter. But the rename command does not exist in the Cisco packet tracer. Once I do this, my final step is copy the flash colon config dot text space, right? Colon system, which is to my system, colon the running config. And after that, most likely after I rename, I have to reset the passwords, and then I do the copy flash config.txt. And once I restart, I should be able to log on. But the Cisco packet tracer does not support that. All right. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. In our next lecture, we're going to look at and see what is CDP, what is Cisco Discovery Protocol. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now.